this episode of Inside the Boardroom, we're with Graham Downs, CEO of Cascadia Minerals. Graham, it's good to see you after running into in Colorado.
Yeah, great to see you too. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, we'll talk about some things that we didn't get to when we met each other. Maybe starting with your recent acquisition of a company called Granite Creek Copper. Walk us through the terms of that acquisition and why you did that. Why did Cascadia decide to do this?
I think the big thing here is the rationale is that, some of your viewers will know that our team has been in the Yukon for most of my 30 years of my career. We've been working in what's called the Stikine terrain in the Yukon, which is the same package of rocks as all of the major mines, copper gold mines in BC that comes up into the Yukon. So we've been working on that for many years, and then we saw this opportunity with Granite Creek Copper. It has a copper gold deposit on a road near power in the same area, kind of similar package of rocks that we're working in. So it just made sense. I think the big thing here is there's these kind of deposits are quite rare in North America. So we really we had a nice grassroots portfolio, but we really wanted to anchor the company with a nice advanced stage copper gold deposit that had a lot of room to grow.
And this gives you full control of the Carmacks project, is that right?
Yeah, exactly. We have it 100% owned. And actually another big piece to that is it'll be royalty free in a couple of years after a couple of advanced royalties will be paid off. So again, it's just kind of a phenomenal situation where you just don't have these kind of opportunities. And being on a road and close to power is just, you can get a lot done with your dollars. So very excited about it.
Well, the company's just commenced a 4,000 meter drill program, and you're focused on deposit expansion. What kind of expectations do you have for resource growth?
Well, that's just it. That we did a lot of due diligence on this deposit. We think there's a lot of room to grow. There's 651 million pounds of copper, just over 300,000 ounces of gold. Our goal is to double this. So if we can get it over 1 billion pounds of copper and get it up in between 500,000 to 1 million ounces of gold, I think that's one of the things people don't recognize, that there is quite a bit of gold in this system. I mean, some of the intervals that we're going to be expanding on I kind of have them here. Recent drilling within the last decade, which there hasn't been much drilling, but 106 meters of just under 1% copper, 119 meters of 0.76% copper. So some phenomenal grades. And like you said, we are focusing this year and future years of near deposit expansion. So we're very optimistic that we'll be able to grow the resource quite quickly.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of future years, we can also read that you've just secured an exploration permit for 10 years. What does this enable Cascadia to accomplish that you couldn't do with shorter term permits?
Great question. A 10-year permit in the Yukon can be, quite challenging. It takes actually quite a lot of effort to get a 10-year permit. It really allows you to do hundreds of thousand meters of drilling, build roads, and really be able to do a lot of the things that we want to be able to do to not only grow the resource, but take it through to another PEA and fast track it to a pre-feasibility. So, it really gives us some certainty that we can work and do all of the things that we want to do. Additionally, we can do the reclamation that needs to be done out there. It's just a very robust permit that really, lets us do whatever we need to do to responsibly take this forward.
Well, in a recent press release, it's mentioned that historical drilling is focused on shallow oxide mineralization and often stopped when, it faced sulfides. How does your modern approach differ, and what potential do you see in these previously overlooked sulfide zones?
I think that's a really big piece to the story of Carmacks copper deposit, is that for the last couple decades, it primarily, or in the earlier days, was just focused on an oxide. So what happened is in the 90s, when drilling was conducted then, it was just looked at as an oxide operation. So when they actually hit the sulfide, they'd actually stop in many cases. And we've talked to some of the past geos there, and they confirmed that. It wasn't until recent years, past operators of Granite Creek who got things on the right track and said, listen, there's a lot of sulfide potential, and then started to intersect some of those drill holes at depth. And that just opens this up to a lot of expansion, and pardon the cliche, but it is open along strike and at depth. So there truly is, when you model this, and I invite your viewers to take a look at our recent news releases to see some of the great grade and some of the figures that we have there that shows how and where we're going to build resources around the deposit. There's just a lot of opportunity there, and I won't get into too much, but there's a lot of geophysics done near it as well. There's so many untested targets just within a kilometer or two of the deposit, so excellent potential.
Well, maybe my next question can kind of talk about this potential here, because if we look beyond the main deposit, you control 177 square kilometers that cover much of the Minto copper belt, including some targets like Zone A with its 25 meters of 2.27% copper. So how will you be prioritizing these targets? Plus, what's the timeline for testing them?
Great question. That was such a big piece. And again, back to the previous operators, they did a great job of consolidating a lot of the copper belt there. Just on a side note there, I think the whole area in the Yukon is heating up with copper exploration. You look at Selkirk Copper Mines and the Selkirk First Nation buying that Minto mine with the Fiore group. And then you've got the Gladiator to the south. So things are really picking up there. So it was very important that when we were doing this transaction, we had enough land and property there to pick up that belt. And to your question about Zone A, I mean, that was one of the big things. It's spectacular that hole that you were talking about, that I think it was 25 meters, just over 2% copper, was drilled in the 80s. And the belt is kind of this northwest strain of all of these different zones. And if just that one alone, we need to get back there. We're not going to be able to get there this year. We need to do our work to advance that, but we definitely plan on drilling that zone, along with the other roughly 10 plus or minus known targets within that belt. So, and what's really nice about it, we have networks of roads going out to those as well. So phenomenal opportunity for us to really build ounces or find new deposits.
Well, there's not many months left in this year. So as we look forward to the rest of 2025 plus, early months in 2026, what sorts of key drivers for, value growth do you want shareholders to look out for?
Well, we actually still have quite a few results coming back from our Max and our Milner and our Rosie projects. Some of our earlier stage projects. We're still very excited about exploring the Yukon Stikine terrain. It really hasn't been looked at in such a fertile package of rocks. So lots of news to come from there. This is one of the later projects I've started in many years in the Yukon, which is fine at Carmacks. But again, we're going to have close to 4,000 meters. That's the target. Actually, a second drill just arrived there. So, it feels weird to be ramping up in September, but we are, and we're going to have lots of news right in through January, February. And while we do that, we'll be planning to do a much bigger program in 2026. We're going to enter 2026 with money in the till. We're just really in a great position to advance such a great project in a great commodity market right now. So very fortunate.
Yeah, I want to mention that your program currently that's underway is fully funded as well, right?
It sure is.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Graham, we're going to leave it there, but always good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much.
Mm-hmm. Graham Downs, CEO of Cascadia Minerals. It's CAM, CAM on the Venture Exchange. Thanks for watching.